Number 29, a very special that's rather special regarding other specials. There will be other specials. One more special. I'll just enjoy. Hello, friends, fans, patrons, followers, audiophiles, and lovers of dystopian alternate reality science fiction fantasy. My name is Michael J. Rigg, and I am the writer, producer, creator of COPPERHEART, but you may also recognize me as Jack Sellers, Man About Tower. Welcome to week 2 of what I am calling our TDH, Technical Difficulties Hiatus, and week 2 of me offering you good news and bad news. Let's start with the bad, since that's customary. I will be extending the TDH just one more week to make sure all the bugs have been dealt with and that we're fully up and running. I just don't want to rush into anything and be sloppy and give you a crappy show. Sorry for the delays. As most of you are hearing this now, the new computer should be constructed, up and running, and if that's the case, I'd like to take the time to reinstall all the needed software, make sure files are in order on the new drives, test recording and mixing equipment, yada yada yada. And then dive into more COPPERHEART script writing during this break. Thank you so much for your patience as we work through this unexpected technical difficulty. Now for the good news, and at least there's a lot of that. Good news 1, as mentioned, the new computer should be operational. If not, my IT guy Jason is prepared to set me up with a loaner in case of emergency. Either way, after next week, I promise you COPPERHEART will continue until our major cliffhanging break for the holidays in November. Good news 2, for those of you who enjoyed last week's special of our pilot Part 1 commentary track, you'll get to hear Part 2 of the pilot commentary track here in just a few minutes. Good news 3, next week I'll present you with a special that showcases the talents of our amazingly wonderful cast. I continue to be inspired by the talents of my peers and mentors, the creators of audio drama podcasts, and the actors who bring them to life. So next week will be a tribute to them. Next week will also be great for those of you who stumbled across COPPERHEART as one of your first audio dramas and you're curious to know about what other awesome stuff is out there. If you, like me, have a lot to listen to on your RSS reader, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, feel free to skip on to the next show in your queue. As for the rest of you, sit back, relax, and enjoy Part 2 of the COPPERHEART pilot commentary track. All right, here we go. The audio drama you're about to hear contains mature language and situations. Hey, everybody. I'm Michael J. Rigg, bringing you a part 2 of the commentary for the pilot episode. Excuse me while I turn down my input a little bit.
Penarski, go distract Baxter. Penarski, go unplug the toilets. Penarski, go fix the entire relay system. Penarski, go distract Baxter.
Oh, come on. You said that one already.
When the other things aren't as bad, it bears repeating.
And so begins the interactions of Penarski and Looter.
No idea, but I thought a nice brisk walk through the complex would give me one.
Is it working?
Not even a bit. And I think I'm getting a runner's cramp.
All right, stop. Penarski, stop.
It always works in the movies. The hero is tracked aimlessly by a camera on a track until he thinks of something brilliant.
The whole thought of this camera tracking thing came from Star Trek The Next Generation, West Wing, shows like that, where a lot of the talking between characters or exposition would take place on a corridor that you knew was just a loop or just basically something to move on the screen while two people are just talking.
They. Don't argue semantics with me, Looter. You'll lose. I studied semantology in college.
You studied semen?
No idea where that joke came from.
Yeah, but you just said...
Listen. Do you smell something?
No.
A Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters, 1984, classic.
Tip of the hat to Astral Fogg and his
a coping mechanism. Helps me think.
Little comedy music that he generated for that scene.
I don't even know what you're saying half the time.
And of course, Penarski's one of Penarski's first pop culture references.
Sperm school, did ya?
And a zinger from Looter. Another page for Dr. CERN.
There you are, Penarski. Now,
Dun dun dun.
let's discuss your missing camera.
Oh, O'Bannon. I was just going to see your boss. Tell Jabba that I got his money.
Another
What
reference.
are you talking about?
Star Wars, of course.
Ow, ow.
Ooh.
Pinhead, what the hell?
Would you believe me if I said he swung at me first? Rhoda wanted me
Star
to
Wars?
distract Baxter, so
You fucking knocked him out.
I saw that mustache and just had a urge, you know? I've always hated that fucking mustache.
And the mustache is just there to
You might have
give a
gone too
visual
far
to
this time.
O'Bannon.
Why? What?
He's dead, Jim.
Who's
Star Trek coming from Looter.
McCoy. Star Trek.
And
1968
music.
something.
I love you.
I know.
And that scene from The Empire Strikes Back between Han and Leia. And the music, you may have heard, just there was the Han and Leia theme that I, twisted the arm of Astral Fogg
Do you
to put
honestly
in there.
think you're the only one who spends their entertainment credits on old shows?
Security alert. Security alert.
And the first sign that Penarski and Looter are actually more alike than you'd think. She can dish it out as well as take it.
Copperheart.
He's just a
A Rig
non-stop
Stories
joker.
audio drama by Michael J. Rig.
And the opening theme, which my wife has told me countless times is too long. She's like, I thought the show was over. It's like, no, it's kind of... I've always approached Copperheart as kind of visual. And in this, in my mind, I always see scenes of the characters' faces in action or turning toward the camera or something going on with the names of the actors underneath who's portraying them. As for what they look like, that's up to you. If anybody out there has the tiniest artistic bone, please send fan art. I'd love some. You cannot be wrong. It's what you see. And here we go.
Is there a field med kit on that rover?
No
Dr.
worries,
Albee.
Dr. Albee. Bought my own.
Jen Avril,
Good.
Headley Knights, about to engage in
And
fixing some space
How do
junk.
we get to it without being exposed?
The side airlock connects to the rear hatch through that short tunnel. There are suits in the back of the vehicle.
No time
Director
to lose. Let's
Rhoda?
go, Rhoda.
Not so fast. Major Baxter keeps a guard posted outside the motor pool when the radiation levels are nominal. We'll need to get past him.
And that guard will be portrayed by Martin Saville in what was going to be his only speaking role in the entire series, but the character of Merrick has actually grown
Yeah, you're right.
because of my
Guard.
disdain for ice cream cake.
Define big gun?
Looks like an M4 carbine.
And I'm not sure it's how I wrote it, but I really love how
6.8
Headley has this
special
edge to
round magazine.
Pembroke that he's he's a doctor. He's not a man of action.
700
He's,
meters, give or take.
And of course, there
What? Don't give me that look.
I'll be
I know
showing her
things.
incredible
Okay,
knowledge
so
of
the guard's
weaponry,
out
which
second
came from
improvement.
her
Really
marriage
fast
to
and makes my job.
Major Baxter. That
Any
has
ideas how we get past him?
has
No
not
worries.
directly
I got this,
alluded
Dr.
to in
Pembroke.
this.
Albie, what are you... Don't...
I hope she knows what she's doing.
I've known Albie a long time. She's got this.
Backstory.
Hey there, Merrick, right?
Yeah? Hey, you're not supposed to be down here.
But you know who I am.
Yeah, you're Dr. Albee. I saw you at my kid's birthday party last April.
The
Yeah, that was really nice.
sound effect of the rifle
wife make
handling
She
was
does take too much
just
longer.
handling
Kind of nervous
something.
about
And there's
launching around in a corridor
later
protected
on
by an
when
armed guard.
a magazine is
Not so
slammed
much the
in
armed
to
guard as it
load
is
a
he's Baxter's
weapon.
armed
It's
guard.
basically just closing an old cassette tape door
Oh, she's coming back.
with a tape in it. They sound remarkably similar.
No luck?
I had to lie about his wife's disgusting ice cream cake.
And I made Jen say that because around this time, the cast and I were having an argument. I take the stance of ice cream cake being a blasphemy, that the only cake is cake. And the cast standing by ice cream cake being delicious ice cream in the shape of a cake.
J21.
As we know, is not cake.
Security alert. Security.
And of course, Iris there broadcasting the distraction caused by Penarski and Looter. Inadvertently, I might add.
Oh, whoa.
I love the
I call shotgun.
I love the audio here of them suiting up in the cramped confines of the back of the rover.
Shotgun means.
Hardly surprising, coming from a whole nation of people.
Driving the wrong side of the road.
That sound change when Dr. Penbrook put his hazmat helmet on, and it like clicked and hissed and his voice changed. I had no real way to indicate that they were actually wearing helmets, so I wanted to do something with them putting them on. Headley did not pause like that. That was just a straight forward line. I decided to break it there and stretch it out a little bit to emphasize the helmet going on. The startup of the rover, in fact, the rover engine is basically a John Deere tractor, a warehouse lift elevator, a Model T, and an Army tank.
Albie, can you mind the radio from back there?
Yeah, no problem.
Jaguar. And of course, the only reason I wrote that is because the first time I'd seen a British commercial for Jaguar, as Americans pronounce it, and it was emphasized Jaguar. And it just sounds wonderful. I want to have a Jaguar just so I can say Jaguar. Rover heading out to investigate the ERV, of course, where, as you know, we'll find...
In this direction for 0.27 kilometers. Then turn right, 56 degrees.
Captain Dunn.
I will direct you from there.
There was a line missing before Iris there where Rhoda had asked for directions. I don't know if that part had dropped off in the script or maybe Alicia just hadn't seen it, but really didn't matter.
Activating Geiger monitor.
The Geiger counter is an actual Geiger counter. Not mine, it's canned sound from freesound.org.
1,500 microsieverts. Not bad. Less than your typical mammogram.
Yeah, but mammograms don't typically last.
And the science you're hearing here is basically the result of me Googling,
At present speed, you will arrive at your destination.
because I don't know anything.
8 minutes, 37 seconds.
Round trip, that's about an hour or so, plus another hour.
And another tip of the hat to Astral Fogg for this awesome travel music. Now the first
Well, 2-hour mammogram.
two parts of the
Great way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
first two parts.
We're shielded and we're wearing suits. It's whoever's crashed that I'm worried about.
There is.
Sorry, I'm getting caught up in listening to the story. the two parts of the pilot are actually the only times that Astral Fogg composed for the scenes that were going on. After that, he provided various mood loops and things like that that I could arrange myself as I needed. And here comes Jim, played by Arthur Morisi,
So I guess I should stay in the car when we get to Grandma's.
who you can tell is not wearing a helmet or a hazmat suit.
Doing here?
Well, like I said, it seems you never have time to talk with me about my future, so...
And I may have mentioned this in the last one, but the character of Jim Rhoda was basically
I kind of hacked into the system.
designed
I
to
know
be
I'm
a sort of
smarter than
a
lot of the so-called adults
like
that
super
don't.
intelligent kid, like a Wesley Crusher, if you remember Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I'm serious, Jim. How could you do this? Why would you do this?
I just want...
I love the mother-son interaction too. Those two did it so well. And Jen's like, maybe we should wait till we get home,
grounded, right?
or maybe we should turn around.
This is a safety violation, and you're over 18 years of age. Rhoda, we were going to talk everything out tonight, but this stunt has seriously fucked up any chance of that having an outcome you'll find favorable. Rhoda, God damn it.
It just, the timing came together so perfectly. This is like
How could you endanger
one of those
yourself
moments
like
where I
this?
really fell in love with producing this audio drama, because I could see it so clearly.
Red as it is. We must press on, Director. Every second counts.
Sorry, Mom, but I didn't think...
No, you didn't. This conversation is tabled.
And then just the sound of the vehicle starting up and continuing on its way. And in your mind, you can just visualize, the crestfallen Jim who is disappointed his mom and it wants to be helpful and have a role at GL51. And maybe Albie glancing over at Rhoda as Rhoda concentrates on the bumpy path to the ERV. The clicking and clacking you're hearing is not buttons being pushed. From the interior sound effects of the rover. That's actually a lunch cart on an airplane. I needed something that kind of gave you the sense of like tools and stuff hanging haphazardly around the interior of the rover and them swinging back and forth as it's traveling across this bumpy path. Worked out pretty well, I think. Then we go back inside. You hear the police radio in the background indicating we're on the security level. And here comes the beautiful singing of Aya Islam as Pinarsky. When I gave Aya this direction, I honestly did not expect him to belt this out like a professional singer, but he's such a good singer. Except for where I changed up the lyrics on him. Which is what I intended. Footsteps of the approaching nemesis.
Fat chance, asshole. You assaulted an officer, Pinarsky.
You're only a sergeant, O'Bannon. Let's not get a big head.
O'Bannon sounding a little bruised up with a fat lip there because I gave Brian Penaloza the direction to do his lines with his hand over part of his face or something to give him the sound of the swollen lip or broken nose. Uh-oh. Jail door.
Okay. Maybe I was a little premature with my observation.
Now, the only audio that I'm disappointed with is the fist fight that takes place here. It's just a couple of punches and Pinarsky slides down the wall, but...
Can you at least buy me dinner first?
Yeah, that didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to, but... And that's why there is a big musical transition gap here. Before we go back out to the ERV crash site.
I don't think it would have mattered getting here any later.
Helmet radios, crunching snow, good stuff.
Agreed. Seems like this one's missing his helmet, along with what was inside of it.
Poor Hickson.
This poor bloke was microwaved on re-entry.
And Morse.
Return vehicle, right?
ERV. Says so right there.
It's kind of a mystery. At this point, you don't know who the survivor is when they find him until Benbrook uncovers the name tag and says that it's done. But the fact that Morse's body was burnt to a crisp and so badly crushed you couldn't tell who or what it was gives you a little bit of a question as to what form the visitor is taking later on. Even though she identifies herself as Morse and, according to Dunn, looks like Morse.
Really? Iris, begin recording.
Recording, Dr. Penbrook.
The sounds of the wreckage is a canned recording of, I think it was called Cleaning Out the Garage. It was basically people going through an old garage that had been devastated by a tornado, and they were just casting stuff away.
Tissue necrosis surrounding the neck lacerations would indicate death was instantaneous and occurred prior to burn-up, but unable to give an exact video.
And again, the awesome music by Fogg. Astral Fogg, available on iTunes.
Uncharacteristic of semi-shielded re-entry. Looks like part of the spacesuit is intact.
Sweeping a sleeping bag there.
Hickson. Tracy's victim's name was Hickson. What have you got, Rhoda?
Stereo transition over to another area. I kind of had to remix the audio on this part because there was no indication that Rhoda and Albie were actually on the inside of the ERV where they found Dunn's body. It's actually kind of a different location than where Pembroke is. The windshield is smashed. That's why I didn't change any of the sounds of the wind until I did the remix, and then I kind of toned that down a little bit. The wreckage sounds a little bit.
What have you got? Another body?
You might say that. Pembroke, you should see this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, he's completely intact. No burns, no trauma. Even his helmet is intact.
I'll be there providing the exposition for Pembroke's reaction.
This isn't possible. Looks like his arm and both legs are broken, but his suit looks brand new.
You're right, this shouldn't be possible. This isn't possible.
Because, of course, the visitor swapped out the Dunn of this reality with the Dunn of another reality. So somewhere else is a Dunn who died in the reentry of an ERV. That's in a different ripple, for those of you counting butterflies.
Not possible.
I'm a surgeon. I assure you, he's breathing.
It's a great line.
But you're right. He's completely intact, minus some lacerations and broken bones.
We have to get him out of here.
Agreed, and quickly. Look. Several tears in his suit. There, and there. He'll start freezing and cooking in a matter of moments.
Freezing and cooking. My description of nuclear winter. Of course, not having any idea, but it gives you a mental image of a post-apocalyptic landscape fairly clearly. Gray snow, burning radiation.
Dunn. Captain Dunn.
Switch back outside to briefly Rhoda and Albie coming to get and there's Jim using an old 35mm camera to take pictures because the sound is a camera and it's very recognizable. There might be something different that they would be using, something digital that wouldn't make any noise, but I went with that sound specifically because you'd identify it as a camera. Now, if you went to most any person and said, draw an icon of a telephone, they would draw something basically resembling the phones we had back in the 70s with the cradle and maybe even a rotary dial. It's just something that sticks in your mind. You know he's taking pictures without actually having to exposit that he's taking pictures. Transition of time with the beautiful music, and then the big garage doors opening as the rover returns home with its human cargo. And yes, this scene is kind of a nod to Alien, a movie that I constantly refer to in this, where they are returning home with an unconscious person. Like in Alien, it was Kane, and he had an organism attached to his face, and there was the whole argument about bringing him in. I actually thought about that kind of a quarantine scene for this. Instead decided, no, Baxter's got wind of what the hell was going on, and he is pissed. So he shows up with his armed cadre of Simcoe and O'Bannon.
Sergeant O'Bannon, report to vehicle housing. Sergeant O'Bannon.
And there's that clip was a transition from the garage to the interior.
Shall we?
After you, Major Baxter. Merrick, taser ready.
Yes, sir.
I like the music here. And of course the police radio, which should become a staple of any time any security personnel are in an action scene in Copperheart, you'll hear that radio. And if you listen closely, they're talking about domestic issues or gang activity.
Dr. Ellen Rhoda, you are under arrest for the violation of the USRB Safety Process Code.
When I wrote that line, there was no safety process code. That just sounded cool. I figured I'd fill it in later if I needed to.
Used against you in a formal tribunal. Do you understand these rights as I have given
Major
them
Baxter,
to you?
you can't do that. Ma, don't let him do this.
Major, please. You cannot arrest the installation director. You can't.
Mother and son being pulled apart.
Rhoda?
Take care of Jim, Holby.
Nice pause.
I won't be tied up for long.
And no matter what, Rhoda is
See to our
always
new patient.
very strong and centered. She knows this isn't going to be a permanent thing.
Sir.
And Baxter is quite simply... It's Dr. Cern again. What the hell is going on?
No, don't. Jim, look at me.
And at this point, Jim,
Don't.
actually more of a son worried for his mom
better
than
listen
a
to
boy
her,
genius.
little man. Chances are she's going to be your new mommy for a long, long while.
I love Jared's delivery. as
This
Baxter.
isn't good.
Calm down. Iris, get a stretcher team from the ER to assist Dr. Pembroke.
Medical alert paged, Dr. Albee.
Jim.
But Doc.
Promise me, I can.
Sarah Ruth Thomas as Iris,
spend more
of
than
course,
10 minutes down there.
who started
You've
off
done
as
far
just a
worse than
computer
Saul
voice
Baxter.
here and there,
Promise me
grew
you'll
into
behave.
a huge character,
Do I have a choice?
Not really.
as you're hearing
No,
now.
Stay here and help Dr. Pembroke with our new guest.
And there's
I'm
more to
going get
come.
your mom back.
Don't worry about it, James. There's no way your mother can be impeached. Not even from this. And the hierarchy puts Dr. Albee in charge, and me. Oh, dear. Dear, that's right. It puts me on the senior council.
Now, Dr. Pembroke is a brilliant surgeon, but he can be clueless. That comes from my own experience as a marketing director for a pain management company where doctors came to me to put batteries in their pagers because they didn't know how it worked.
Sorry, Dr. Pembroke. I gotta get my mom back.
Brilliant doctors, brilliant surgeons, but day-to-day stuff.
Check out the flag. On the camera.
What?
Look at the stripes.
Look at the flag. What am I looking for? What? The wing of the ER?
Dr. Albee, report to the main lab.
Wait, what the?
Dr.
One,
Albee,
two,
report to the main lab.
That's 16 stripes. Wait, what?
What?
1, 2, 3. An American flag with 16 stripes.
I remember hearing at the time this aired some people saying I had to go back and look at the flag and count it. Really?
Hours.
I mean, I'm an idiot. There's a lot of like common stuff that everybody knows that I don't know, but I don't know. I've always known. I couldn't tell you anything about politics, about the House and the Senate, any of that kind of stuff.
Who are you, Captain Dunn? Or rather, what are you?
Yeah, I know how many stars and stripes. When I was a kid, I had a whole thing about flags. I would draw all the flags of all the nations, which was fun. And of course, this conclusion leading you to wonder whether or not Dunn is an alien, because the flag was different. You might even properly guess that he's from a different reality, but it's not until later when you hear Penarski say how many stars and stripes there are with Luter and find out that even that doesn't match the current modern number of stars and stripes and realize there is yet another reality.
This is Capcom. Do you copy?
And I had Chris Magilton come back to record this because I wanted to bookend the first and second parts of the pilot. So there's the Blue Danube again,
ERV2.
which, as you've already heard, was supposed to be a Hollies tune.
ERV2. This is Capcom. Do you copy?
Beautiful. And there you go. That's
Aya Islam as Panarsky.
Credits.
Haley C. McCarthy as Looter.
I'm shutting up.
Brian Penaloza as O'Bannon.
These people are brilliant.
Sarah Ruth Thomas as Iris.
I love them all.
Alicia Atkins as Director Rhoda.
All of them.
Jen Avril as Dr. Albie.
Fantastic.
Eddie Knights as Dr. Pembroke.
Martin Saville as Private Merrick.
There he
Arthur
is.
Marisi as Jim Rhoda.
Jared Worley as Major Baxter.
Victoria Wan as Lieutenant Simcoe.
Marina Sandoval as the Communications Officer.
And Marina...
Chris Magilton as Capcom.
And Marina later becomes known as DaCosta when she's given a name because she shows up in Horner's bar. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I mean, there wasn't a lot to it because actually the first I've listened to it in a long time, so I stuttered my way through it and didn't say a whole lot because I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh yeah. But if there is an episode that you would like a commentary track of, let me know and I will do it. You can either comment below or reach out, contact me directly, however you may contact me, and I will do that because this is really cool. It's really cool to revisit these things and also to remember how I did certain sounds, why I did certain things in the dialogue, why I did certain sound effects to emphasize this, that, or the other thing. Thank you for listening to this COPPERHEART Special presentation. Next week, I'll be presenting a very special spotlighting the other works of our marvelous cast. Then in 2 weeks, I swear and promise the show will return. If you'd like to support the show and make sure we return for a season 2, feel free to become a patron at patreon.com/CopperHeart. Thank you, and have a great week.